In this video, I am going to teach you all about Tayberries and Loganberries. If you just want a really short video on how to prune Tayberries and Loganberries, click the link at the top there, or the link is in the description as well. But this is a more detailed video telling you how to grow them, how to harvest them, how to prune them, and how to tie them in for best results. Because these plants are so similar, I'm lumping them in together. The way that you grow them and look after them and harvest them and prune them and everything is exactly the same. So whether you have got Tayberries or Loganberries, this video is for you. Tayberries and Loganberries are distinct plants, but they are both hybrids of red raspberries and blackberries. They are both absolutely delicious, giving really large, juicy fruits in the summer with a flavour, as you would expect, somewhere between raspberry and blackberry. To my palate, I think Loganberries are slightly sweeter, but I think Tayberries make better jam. Whichever one you can get, they are an absolute delight, and you will struggle to find those fruit in any supermarket or any greengrocer. So if you want to have the flavour, if you want to have that incredible culinary ingredient, you really need to grow this one yourself. Now, these are plants that don't do very well in a pot. You'd need a really large container to keep these happy, but if you can plant them in the soil, they do best trained against a wall or a fence or a trellis. So they actually take up really little space in the garden if you can get those roots into the soil. So these are lovely, high yield, space saving berries. All of your Tayberries and Loganberries are self-fertile. So that means they don't need another plant to cross-pollinate with. You will get fruit if you just have one of these amazing plants. Most varieties of Tayberries and Loganberries have thorns. They've got little spiky thorns like an autumn raspberry or like a blackberry. But there are thornless varieties of both. So this is Tayberry Buckingham. This is the variety that I grow, and it's really reliably thornless. There is a thornless Loganberry as well, which they have imaginatively named Thornless Loganberry. So if you can find either of those varieties, Buckingham or thornless, or any other variety that may be available where you are, plant breeders are coming up with new ones all the time. You are better off to buy an actual little bush or a rooted cutting, because they don't come true from seed. But you'll find these in plant nurseries and online, and you'll sometimes even get them in those shops that sell things for $1 or £1. So keep an eye out for them. Tayberry and Loganberry, absolutely delicious. So what do you do once you have got your wonderful new plant? You can grow Tayberries and Loganberries in a pot, but they are never going to perform as well as ones in the ground. And you're going to need eventually a really big pot or container. So if you possibly can, you want to be planting these in the ground. Tayberries and Loganberries are really easy to grow thanks to that bit of blackberry ancestry in their DNA. So they aren't too fussy about soil. In an ideal world, they would like rich, loamy soil which is slightly acidic. So neutral pH is 7. These guys only want it sort of 6 to 7, so just very slightly acidic. So you really only have to worry if you're on very chalky or alkaline soil. If you are on chalky or alkaline soil, do not panic. All you need to do is mix some sulfate of iron into your soil. You may find it sold under the name Ericaceous soil conditioner. Basically anything that says it's going to make your soil more acidic is going to do the job. You can also buy compost which is slightly acidic. It's called Ericaceous compost. It's what you would use to grow your blueberries and your azaleas and all of those lovely acid-loving plants. And when you are planting your plant, make sure you put it into a deep enough hole. So when you take your plant out of the pot and put it into the soil, you want the top of the soil in the pot to be level or slightly below the level of the soil in your garden. Tayberries are okay if you plant them a little bit deeper, but if you plant them proud of the soil, if you plant them higher than the soil, it's going to be more susceptible to wind rock and insect damage and all sorts of things. So make sure you plant it deep enough and then give it a really good watering anytime you are planting any plant, always water it into the ground really thoroughly. This not only gives it the water that it needs, but it helps all of the soil to settle around its roots, so it's going to be a lovely, happy, healthy plant. Once your Tayberry is planted and starts growing, you are going to end up with lovely long canes like this. And you are going to need to tie those in. So these aren't like a grapevine or anything. They don't have any way of clinging on. You need to actually tie them in yourself with a little bit of string or some plant ties or even some old pantyhose, whatever you've got lying around that's nice and soft, to tie these onto any support that you want to use. So you could use a trellis, you could use wires stretched against a wall. If you aren't using a wall, like I don't have a wall here, you can just stretch wires along, and that will give you something to tie in your Tayberry. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Over the winter, Tayberries and Loganberries lose all of their leaves, and this is the right time to prune it. We're in late winter now, so I'm going to walk you through how to prune and tie in your Tayberries and your Loganberries. If you have a thorny variety, I recommend using gloves for this step, but mine is thornless, so I don't need to. So let's get stuck in. As always with pruning, clean, sharp tools are essential. Not only does this make it easy for you to cut whatever you're pruning, it also means that you aren't accidentally introducing any viruses or pathogens into your plant as you're pruning it. I get asked a lot of questions about pruning at this time of year, so this is a really handy tip that is going to make it easy for you to remember how to prune all of your cane fruits. So that's raspberries, blackberries, Tayberries, Loganberries. All of them basically work the same way. Once a cane has fruited, it will not fruit again. All you have to do is take a look at the plant itself. You will be able to see where the little stems are that you've picked all of your delicious berries over the summer. All you need to do is follow that branch all the way down to the base, snip it with your secateurs, and job done. The newer branches tend to be sort of greener. You don't want to cut those. Anything that did not give you fruit last year is going to give you fruit this year. Make sure you're leaving these newer green canes. They are your stars for this year. So we've got one of our old canes here. We're just going to follow that down to the base of the plant. And cut it off right at the base. And repeat. Once you've got all the dead wood cut out, you're left with the branches that could all potentially bear fruit for you this year. As I've mentioned, this does need some sort of support, so I've got 4 horizontal wires here that I can tie the branches into. So what you want to do is pick the best and strongest and healthiest of the branches that you have, tie those in, as many as you've got room for, and any that are left over that you don't have space for or that aren't looking as healthy or that are a bit small or a bit thin, just snip those off. It's much better to have fewer branches or fewer canes that are going to give you really good quality fruit rather than just trying to have every single bit tied in that you potentially can and have the plant be a little bit choked. So I have a good, strong, thick cane here. I'm going to tie this into the bottom row, and then I have another good, strong, thick cane here. That's going to go in the next row up. So these will be 2 horizontal rows. And this little short one here, this one's going to get cut off because it's not big enough. I've already got lots of canes over here, so I'm just going to work and tie in these big ones, and then we'll snip off some of these smaller ones. You want to make sure you're using something soft to tie in these canes. So I'm using wire, which is wrapped in a nice soft rubber, or you could use string or pantyhose, as long as it's something soft so it's not damaging those soft woody stems. So we've got a couple of little weedy bits down here. So they're short and they're thin and they're not going to produce very much fruit, so we're going to get those out of the way. So that's the tayberry all nicely tied in. Once the growth starts up in the spring, you want to give it a good dose of fertilizer, something like fish blood and bone or seaweed, or your homemade compost is ideal. A nice layer of mulch will help to keep the roots moist because it does have quite shallow roots. So nice moist roots means nice juicy berries, so mulch is always a good idea. Over the course of the summer, this is going to grow all of the branches that are going to have fruit on them next year. So you're going to end up with a little bunch of sort of green canes, just like what we had when we were pruning here, that will not give you fruit this year. So just loosely tie them, tuck them to the back. I usually would just stick a couple of stakes either side of my plant and loosely tie in those new green branches once they start to get a little bit long, but they don't get in the way of me harvesting my delicious fruit at all. You'll notice I am in a fruit cage here because we've got lots of birds in this area and they love to eat my fruits. So if you've got lots of hungry birds where you are, you may want to put up some little bird scarers or use some fruit netting just to help make sure that the birds don't get to eat the fruit before you do. If you are using netting, remember to make sure that the holes are wide enough for a bee to get through, because in a few months' time, these bare branches are going to be covered with leaves and beautiful little white blossoms, and you need those blossoms to be pollinated to get your delicious fruit. Tayberries and Loganberries both get beautiful little white blossoms, which are followed by berries that start green, then turn pink, then turn red, and then turn a dark red or a purplish colour, and that is when you want to pick them. If you want them for jam, you may want to pick them when they're slightly underripe. These do not contain natural pectin, so if you are a jam maker, you will need to add a bit of pectin to get that nice set. But if you want them just to enjoy as a delicious berry, let them get as dark and ripe as you can, and you will not be disappointed.